This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles.
Right on time on a Tuesday. We appreciate all of your patience, folks. He's Greg, I'm Nick. We are part of the CLNS Media Network. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Also brought to you by Ethos. Protect your family with life insurance through Ethos now. And this podcast also brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Go to omahasteaks.com to get an extra $35 off with promo code Patriots at checkout. All right, before we get into the game, Greg, I do want to jump to a couple of quick notes as far as coaches go because it will impact the Patriots, impact the AFC East. Sean McDermott was fired. What's fascinating is that Brandon Beane not only keeps his job, but he got promoted. What do you make of Buffalo's decisions this week?
This is sort of typical of those owners who has no idea what they're doing. They sit with certain people during the game, including Brandon Beane sits with Terry Pagula in the box. And that GM, it's similar to, reminds me of like Mike Tannenbaum with the Jets and other places where, they get to sit there and talk about how the coach isn't using their personnel right and all this stuff. And it becomes who the owner is closest to, who he trusts. We've seen Pagula do this before with Russ Brandon when he was GM and team president of the Bills. It's another one of these situations. What's interesting is that, when McDermott got hired, it was Doug Whaley as the GM. And then Whaley got fired. McDermott brought Brandon Beane. They were together in Carolina, brought him. So basically, McDermott was in charge. I think the most significant thing is about how they're now going to a strong GM. But again, this is we've talked about it for years. These sort of arranged marriages. I mean, what they should have done was start over, interview GMs and head coaches, whoever you think you can get as either a strong head coach or strong GM, and then let that person rule the roost. Now, Brandon Beane's now the strong GM, but it hasn't earned it. And now he's going to try to hire a coach. I don't know. It's just awkward. It's a shotgun marriage. It's probably going to be a disaster unless they have an idea about they really love Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator who's getting interviews, and they don't want to lose him, or maybe they bring back Brian Daboll or something. Unless they have something in mind, I think this is going to be a disaster.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Brian Daboll because there's a lot of smoke around him possibly being a candidate in Buffalo. Would you look to Brian Daboll? Would you look to Joe Brady? Would you look to, I don't know, Mike Tomlin, any of these other names that are out there right now?
I would look for somebody. I would definitely try for Mike Tomlin, but it seems like he's going to take time off.
Yeah.
I would check in on Bill Belichick. I would, because
oh boy,
you're looking at a short window, not a rebuild, that sort of thing. If it's a strong GM, then Bill's going to have to work under him. Just somebody who's more proven, because I don't think while their personnel's not good, and that's why they lost their personnel, which of course Brandon Beane gets a promotion out of it as the GM. But I'm looking for somebody that can hit the ground running, that isn't going to have to learn, because Josh Allen doesn't have time for that.
They also lost because Josh Allen was terrible. I watched I watched the Bills Broncos film to watch the Broncos defense over the last couple of days, and we all look at the turnovers, but my goodness, he missed 3 or 4 wide open receivers, and he was forcing footballs down the field. He stunk. I know they put 30 points up or whatever, but he was not good enough. Other note here, Jeff Hafley, the Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator, the former head coach of Boston College, hired by the Dolphins as their next head coach. Do you like that hire?
No, not really. To me, Hafley's unproven. You can say what you want about BC. It's BC. I mean, it's a tough place to win, even before NIL came in like it has now. I'm just not a big fan of, defensive head coaches unless, his coordinator hires are going to be huge.
Yeah.
And especially as a defensive head coach. That's why, like Mike Vrabel, looks like he knocked it out of the park with Josh McDaniels, a guy who knows how to coach the quarterback and is probably going to be here multiple years at least. Not like one of these hot shot guys. Like, it's great if you bring a hot shot guy. As soon as he has success with a quarterback, he's going to be gone. And now this is something that Harbaugh went through in Baltimore, McDermott went through in Buffalo. It's a hard way to win consistently in the NFL, in my opinion. So I mean, look, I think Hafley's a good coach. He's a good defensive coordinator. I have no idea how he's going to run an NFL team.
Yeah, the McDaniels thing's just so critical. You and I have talked about it a bunch. He's not even being brought up. I haven't seen his name mentioned for any of these interviews. Thomas Brown is getting interviews. He got an interview with our Arizona Cardinals for the head coaching position. The Chargers are looking at Thomas Brown as a possible offensive coordinator. But Josh McDaniels just quiet all around Josh McDaniels, which is good news for the Patriots. One final note.
Nick, one thing on that.
Sure.
I did have this thought the other day. It was when the Ravens job opened. And, if you haven't listened to Steve Bisciotti, the owner, his press conference, do it. It's well worth your hour's worth of time in terms of how he was forthcoming and honest about everything. And I thought it was really good. And, I had the thought, and I don't know how Eric DaCosta and those guys feel about Josh McDaniels. I don't. But they are willing to go unconventional routes. And even Bisciotti talked about, depending on the situation, they're willing to go with coordinators who maybe weren't successful the first time around. And that sort of got me thinking, I don't know. The way it's set up there with how the Ravens are set up with DaCosta and Ozzie Newsome still around, and it's a strong GM, and they handle all the personnel. They're involved a bit. I did have the thought of, I wouldn't be, and I don't know anything about what's going on. I don't. And my feeling is, I think McDaniels would rather stay where he is for a while. And I expect that to happen. But thinking about the Ravens job, I did wonder, could they be the team that calls him and talks to him? I mean, considering, how good he is with the quarterback. He wanted Lamar Jackson when he was coming out in the draft, when he was with the Patriots, worked him out extensively. That would, if I were the Ravens, I would at least talk to Josh McDaniels. Do I know if that's going to happen? No, I don't.
I just don't see it, man. Maybe it happens, but to fire John Harbaugh and to move to Josh McDaniels, who has failed tremendously in his first two stops as a head coach, I would certainly not entertain it if I were Baltimore. Just another.
You wouldn't talk to him?
No interest. Nope. Saw enough in Denver. Saw enough in Vegas. He failed again, just at the highest of levels. Doesn't connect when he's the head coach, seemingly, with his entire football team. I think there's a disconnect there when he's running the entire crew. I think he's bad in game managing. I think he's bad when it comes to timeout usage and in certain scenarios. I just don't think he's a good head coach. And I think he's proven that. And to get a third bite of the apple, he's that special to get 3 bites, I'd be out. I'd be out personally. But if the Ravens look at him, all power to Josh. If he can get another gig and it's a great gig, good for him. But if I were an owner, I would have 0.0 interest. By the way, speaking of ownership, just for a second, I do find it kind of funny that apparently Raiders coaching candidates are flying to Miami to meet with Tom Brady. I just got to ask you, Greg, this setup, man, do you think anything is possible? But do you think this can work, like Brady running this team pretty much via Zoom? Is that going to work?
I mean, look, I've never run an NFL team or, been involved on any of those levels. But from everybody that I've talked to around the league over the last couple of weeks, just in general and sort of shooting the shit, they're all like, you can't half-ass this. And at least Matt Ryan, who, has zero experience and has no idea what he's doing, at least he's going to be in Atlanta and he's going to be there and be in the building. But Tom Brady doing the broadcasting, living in Miami, Zooming, I don't know, maybe watches some meet. I don't know. No, it's never worked. It's never worked before. could have worked. Yeah, but no, I doubt it.
All right, before we get to the Texans-Patriots game, which we will get to, Greg wants to tell you about Prize Picks.
Whether you're starting a new routine or making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard, but in life and on Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure playoff matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never stops, and Prize Picks lets you take control. My favorite thing about Prize Picks is picking multiple sports in the same lineup. With basketball back, I can put Jaylen Brown and Drake Maye in the same lineup and root for both. Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. Prize Picks now offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Drake Maye's passing yards, rushing yards, and touchdowns? Of course you do. Drake Maye is the balls. Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup, only on Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Can you pick more or less on Drake Maye fumbles? I have that question.
Are you trying to trigger people right now? You trying to trigger people?
Come on, the team's going to the AFC Championship game. Laugh a little. Have a little fun.
For those listening, we ask that you subscribe to the podcast, like, and leave a review. For those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead, hit that like button, and subscribe to the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel. Also, check out BSJ, $50 for the year. Giardi, Bedard do great work over there, of course. Again, $50 for the year. Tremendous film breakdown, best sources. Check them out. All right, let's get to it. Patriots, Texans, as you said, Greg, Patriots on their way to the AFC Championship game. Can you believe it? Just an unbelievable story, a ridiculous turnaround. Let me ask you about Drake Maye. You just brought him up. What'd you see on the film? What'd you think?
So, a lot of it was sort of typical that we've seen from him this year in that, he has like 3 or 4 elite plays a game. I had him for 3 elite plays in this game. The third down scramble that he had when he stepped out of a sack, the touchdown throw to Stephon Diggs, the booty touchdown, obviously. And also Drake Maye played better in the second half again, applying those lessons from the first half, meeting McDaniels at halftime. He played better. I mean, slightly better. It wasn't like last week or anything like that. But the formula, I think we've talked about it during this season that, once Drake Maye got going this season, the formula for the team and for him was make 3 or 4 elite plays a game, take care of the football. Well, he hasn't taken care of the football the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's been the reason why it's been close, why it's been in doubt. I mean, he just, you can't fumble 6 times in 2 games. I don't want to hear any excuses from anybody. I don't want to hear about the pass protection. All right, maybe one of them I didn't blame him for the fumble when Campbell was beat pretty clear around the edge. Like, you don't expect Campbell to get beat like that. His other one was, he's pump faking a couple times, but I hear, of course, there's going to be people out there because they're Patriots fans and Drake Maye fans, and they want to make excuses for Drake when he has his shortcomings. But I don't want to hear it. And it reminded me of, and I was texting with Brian Hoyer, and I was like, because I couldn't remember this quote, and I thought it was a Bill Belichick quote, but I did eventually find it. And Julian Edelman recounted it. And he says, I remember Bill Belichick used to say, when you are carrying the football, you are not only carrying the football for the team and everyone in the building, but you are carrying it for everyone in the region. The fate is in your hands. When you have the ball in your hands, you are responsible for it alone. And 6 fumbles, 4 fumbles in this game. I mean, we're talking about a few, even last week against the Chargers, a bounce a different way. The Patriots might lose the game this week if Will Campbell on second effort really doesn't recover that ball at the 3-yard line. We could be talking about the Patriots out against the Texans, and it would be Drake Maye's fault. It would. And so, look, he's playing fine. He's played, how he's played. But the ball security issues the past 2 weeks, which I think it's no coincidence that it's against the two best defenses that he's seen this year after playing the 32nd ranked offensive schedule during the regular season. And I think we talked about it going into this matchup. It's got to, his level has to go up in terms of intensity, ball security, especially ball security, because that's the only way I see the Patriots getting knocked out, the way that they're playing defense and the way they're able to manufacture offense and Drake Maye's elite play. So, you got to take care of the football, and he hasn't, and it hasn't been good.
Yeah, the one that thankfully Will Campbell recovered inside their own 5, that's a situation where, to me, I'm watching it, and I'm saying to myself, the rewatch on Monday morning, and there's nothing there. And again, discretion sometimes is the better part of valor, if not every time. And once you see that, Drake, throw the football into the ground, throw it into the 5th row, sit down Indian style if you want in the pod, whatever you want to do. I don't care if I couldn't care less what you do, but I don't even know who he's throwing that to. I guess he's going to try to take a deep shot down the sideline. That's not there. Again, everybody was covered. So just at some point, you got to say, I got to make the smart decision here. I'm getting rid of the football and live to see another play, live to see another day. And the scrambling, the run where, he's diving forward, yes, it's a good punch out, but you got to take care of the football. And I don't know how many times we've got to say, Josh McDaniels' approach offensively, were you okay with it?
I was, for the most part. I mean, there's always a couple plays, especially against a really good defense, where they're going to get you and they're going to have a better defensive call. I think the play that stands out to me was the Patriots are in their own end, I think at the 15-yard line, 20-yard line, 3rd and 8, and they throw a little swing pass to Ramondre Stevenson that goes for 1 yard. I think that the Texans fooled the Patriots, McDaniels and Maye, and just about everybody on that play. I think that Drake Maye and Josh McDaniels thought there was a high chance that they were going to get man coverage on that 3rd down. And we talked about it going in that, we wanted to get Stevenson and or Henderson on To'o, which never really happened in the game. That's one of the things that surprised me. But they showed man coverage, but then they dropped into zone, and that play's dead versus zone, and there's not much that you can do about it. I was fine with it. I think that people now understand, and again, the Texans are really good. So some of this or a lot of this was them, but I think a lot of people, after we saw the Patriots quick game, screen game in this matchup, now you know why they haven't run it a lot this year, because it is not good. It's not. And that's something they're going to have to work on for in the offseason. But I thought they were appropriately aggressive. When Drake Maye, I think what you saw in some of those fumbles, because there were times where I was like, wait, where's he going with the ball? There's there's nothing open. And but there were it was Diggs and or Pop. I think it might have been Diggs twice, where similar to the booty play. I think there was another play to Diggs down the left sideline where Lassiter was physical with him. Basically, the approach was if they get one-on-one on the outside, they're throwing it deep. And I think so I thought they were aggressive enough. I thought that Stevenson's eye injury, what have you, was killer, because he was awesome again in this game. And TreVeyon Henderson decidedly was not. He's just at this point in time right now. And he can go to the house. If there's a crease, he's going to go to the house. We all know this. But as far as being a running back against a good defense, he just doesn't have it right now. That's not to say he won't have it in the future. He's a rookie. We know how Patriots running backs go. But he is just not good as a running back right now, an every down back. And, that hurt. You had Fumbles McGee at quarterback. Will Campbell struggled a little bit. So to me, it looked more like execution on the whole than it was geez, what the hell are they doing? I know a lot of people wanted Drake Maye to roll out a little bit more, and we did see that on that play to, Austin Hooper.
Yeah.
There's danger in that. That they didn't do that tells me they were afraid of the Texans' speed and about, they just wanted to avoid bad plays. Now, yeah, the Hooper play worked. Then they tried to run it again on the next play, and Maye got sacked for 0 yards. Like, there was nothing there. The Texans were all over it. So while the Hooper play worked, I think they were holding that to use. I don't think it was a way to move the ball in this game. But again, the baseline is, and I said this on Twitter, and I said this after the game, that Texans defense is really freaking good. Tossing out the Week 18 game against the Colts when they basically sat everybody in the second half, the 21 points the Patriots put up was the third most they've allowed this season. I mean, even their points per drive, because they had like 15 drives in this game, was about middle of the pack. And they were like right behind like some pretty good offensive minds. Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan. I forgot there was another team that they were just behind. So, like, look, I think people get delusional. I know you want to sit there and you want to chant MVP and you want Drake Maye to make these plays and all this stuff. But, like, this is the freaking playoffs. And these are two good defenses that they faced. And, three touchdown drives plus the running the ball out of their own end to, like, midfield to change field position. Like, those were really good drives. And to do that against the Texans, I would say that's, pretty good work considering, the negative plays, the fumbles, the sacks, the things like that.
Couple things. TreVeyon Henderson, he looks like a rookie again the last couple of weeks. I thought he was playing better towards the tail end of the season, but he was just hesitant and looked unsure of himself. His vision again wasn't great. There was a play where he was supposed to chip, I think, Will Anderson Jr., and I don't know what the hell he did. He just kind of like he brushed him with like his shoulder and just moved on, and Campbell was screwed. So yeah, it just looks like, again, it's a different level. It was a different level when he first came in and he struggled, the first couple of months. And it looks like now the level has been raised again for the postseason, and he's not meeting that level just yet. Maybe he has a big game on Sunday. We'll see. The surprises for me with McDaniels, I was surprised they did not move the pocket as much. I thought they would move the pocket more because of the pass rush. You bring up a good point about the speed. Maybe that's what it was. I was also surprised before the fourth quarter, and they ran the ball down Houston's throat. They only played 6 offensive linemen on like 2 or 3 snaps before that series. And I thought they were going to play 6 offensive linemen more, and I thought they were going to try to throw out of the 6 offensive linemen, and they really didn't didn't do much of that at all. All right, we got Will Campbell to get to and the defense quickly before Greg runs away from us. But first, here are a couple of notes from Ethos and Omaha Steaks.
I carry a lot of responsibility in my household. If something happened to me, there are real consequences like mortgage payments, college tuitions, everyday bills that just don't disappear. Thinking about that used to feel overwhelming, but taking steps to protect my family financially changed that. That's why I got life insurance through Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam, just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. As of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Ethos has a 4.5 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 3,000 reviews. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/all32. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get your free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/all32. That's ethos.com/ALL32. Ethos.com/all32. Applications, times, and rates may vary. Hey, everybody. Who doesn't love a really good steak? I know the big boy does. Love them. Eat them a couple of times a week. Starting the year strong is easier and more delicious with premium portioned proteins from Omaha Steaks. My wife got me a Omaha Steaks gift pack. It had steaks, burgers, lobster tails, even these little cheesecake desserts. It was fabulous. It was easy to prepare, just in my freezer, waiting for me. Love the convenience. Support your fresh start with high-quality proteins from Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks offers an exclusive lineup of USDA-certified tender steaks, gourmet burgers, versatile chicken, pork, and more with unrivaled quality and variety, with every bite backed by their 100% guarantee. 5 generations of uncompromising quality backed by an unconditional 100% money-back guarantee. Omaha Steaks has been America's original butcher since 1917. Let Omaha Steaks deliver high-quality proteins right to your door. Visit omahasteaks.com and get an extra $35 off with promo code PATRIOTS at checkout. That's OMAHA steaks.com, promo code PATRIOTS. Terms apply. See site for details.
All right. We got a little bit of a lightning round here. Will Campbell struggles. What'd you think?
I mean, look, he didn't play well second week in a row going against tough matchups. We don't know what's going on with his knee. We don't know, if he's compromised, which as a Patriots fan, you're hoping for that he gets his knee scoped in the offseason and he's back and he's better. I don't see that on film. I don't see physical issues on film. Yeah. I think this is just, my point of view on Will Campbell all along. First of all, I wanted him at the 4th overall pick. I thought they had no choice. He was going to be an upgrade over what they had last season. Say what you want about, how Bedard Lowe did when he was in there, which I thought he did a good job. But I thought that Will Campbell could be, you would win a lot of games with Will Campbell, especially in the regular season. My question with guys like that, and it's similar to Joe Thuney when he played left tackle for the Chiefs last year in the Super Bowl. I mean, he was really good. They won a lot of games, but, he finally met a mismatch in the Super Bowl and struggled mightily. And I don't know how he did the other night playing left tackle for the Bears. But, the question is, in my mind, is Will Campbell good enough to win Super Bowls? Now, who knows? The Patriots are, odds-on favorite to go to the Super Bowl, so they have a chance, and they might win a Super Bowl this year. So I guess the answer would be yes. But my question in my mind was always, is he going to be good enough, against good postseason defenses at left tackle? And I wasn't sure. I still think I would put him at left guard eventually and be an all-pro Hall of Fame left guard. But, yeah. He's struggling. He's just gotten beat 2 weeks in a row.
Here's what we know. Will Campbell has struggled against a couple of elite pass rushers. That's what we know. Khalil Mack, yes, he's long in the tooth, but he's still one of the best that's ever done it at the NFL level. And we talked about it. Will Anderson Jr. is arguably the best pass rusher in all of football.
Yeah, Myles Garrett.
Earlier in the season, he had trouble with Myles Garrett. Elite pass rusher. He had trouble against Herbig of Pittsburgh, who this year was one of the best pass rushers in football. Yep. So inevitably the question is, can you survive with your left tackle who struggles at times against the elite? There's not a lot of elite guys. That's an answer. I mean, that's a question that has to be answered, but I'm not sitting there freaking out because he is losing to the very best in football. So maybe he can, second year, he gets a little bit better against that elite level. We'll see. Stroud's performance on Sunday, how bad would you rank it, Greg?
I don't always grade the opponent quarterback, and I didn't really grade him all that much. I did mark down where there were plays to be made or just terrible plays, terrible throws by CJ Stroud. I would have to say this was among the worst quarterback performances I've ever seen. He was absolutely horrendous. I had him for 21 minus plays in this game as far as awful throws, awful decisions. Were the Patriots a factor in this? Of course they were. Do I think it was all them? No. Do I think I think, Herbert played better last week, but looked more confused by what the Patriots did. I did think that they did a few new things. To me, this was just CJ Stroud being god-awful. I mean, the most prime example is, remember when they got down to the red zone and he overthrew Marks they had the touchdown pulled off the board for illegal motion, legal shift, and then third down he throws over, holds the ball, throws it over. He had like 3 guys wide open for touchdowns on that play, and he didn't come close to seeing any of them.
Yeah,
and he was absolutely horrendous. I can't believe that DeMeco Ryans stuck with him. I know there's a quote out there. Dan Orlovsky saying the Texans win that game with 31 other quarterbacks. I think that's going to be the first question on Felger and Maz when I get there. I don't know if I would go that far, but yeah, a lot of quarterbacks would have given the Texans a better chance to win that game than CJ Stroud did.
I just hate that shit, man. I really do. Like that stupid, I think it was Rex Ryan, shocker, who said that. Look, if it's a different quarterback, you're playing the quarterback differently. Like, what are we doing? I hate that. I hate that. Oh, well, if it was 31 other quarterbacks, like if you're playing Brock Purdy, different quarterback. So we can't do that. That's so disingenuous to say, especially when you're a former NFL head coach. Like, stop it, will you, Rex Ryan, you clown at times? Like, how about you be a little bit, genuine on the air? I know, God forbid, but that's not true, Rex. Like, stop it. It's ridiculous to say. I thought the defense was really good. Both things can be true. CJ Stroud sucked out loud, and the Patriots defense I thought was really good. There are numbers. Yep. If you want all the numbers, check out my Locked On Patriots. I went through it all on today's episode. I guess I'll just ask you quickly, who played well and who didn't play well?
Well, one thing I did want to mention as far as, we've seen, kudos to Zach Kerr and Mike Vrabel. We've seen sort of wrinkles the past 2 weeks that I think teams weren't prepared for. We talked about a little bit of the coverage, even though I will say people like Greg Cosell and JT O'Sullivan sort of poo-pooed Robert Spillane's comments after the Chargers game. I would disagree with them because while it wasn't earth-shattering or anything against the Chargers, but the fact that Gonzalez and Davis were waiting for people after the snap, that was new. I don't think the Chargers expected that, and that causes some issues. This week, to me, it was it wasn't every snap, but for a lot of the game, first of all, the Patriots defensive line won the game. They kicked the Texans rear end up and down the field. Yep. From the first snap to the last snap. They did that they either slanted or stunted on just about every play. And I don't know if I've ever seen that, including they added a new, I've been texting with David Andrews to figure out what exactly they were doing. But I think it's called a long stick. It's basically like if you've ever heard of a long trap where the tackle goes over a bunch of gaps. In the run game, it's very similar in defense where the end is going underneath 2 players instead of just a little game. It's called a long stick. And the thing was, the Patriots did that on every snap, run or pass. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. And that tells me they thought, first of all, CJ Stroud, he's horrible when he's under pressure and his mechanics are awful. He needs a quarterback coach. He needs a teacher. He's terrible. His footwork is terrible under pressure, and that's where it shows up. But, it just told me that they thought the Houston Texans offensive line was hot garbage. Trent Brown, of course, didn't play. They just attacked them the whole game, and Nick Caley could not adjust. As far as people I thought played well, didn't play well. Ramondre Stevenson, Morgan Moses, Diggs, Booty. I thought Efton Chisholm did some really nice things in the run game. The entire defensive line, starring Kayvon Chason, who was also in this game.
Menace.
They were all great. I mean, even Elijah Ponder had a couple of plus plays. Everybody else had in 93, Leonard Taylor.
Yep.
Showed up again. But everybody else had 4 or 5 impact plays on the defensive line. They're going to get a 5 out of 5 from me. The linebackers were good. Davis was good outside of the 3 penalties for 48 yards. Gonzalez, Marcus Jones, pick 6 and the touchdown given up sort of balanced themselves out. Craig Woodson, tremendous. So those are the guys that stood out.
Well, there you have it. Don't forget Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Greg and I will be back later in the week to preview the Broncos-Pats AFC Championship game. Can you freaking believe it? Until then, be well.